Hi, my name is Shelon Douglas, the businesspreneur of influence and also the creator of the Ownership Circle model. And I'm entrepreneurial. It started at the age of 10 when both my parents worked graveyard. And simply just one evening, I had just told my mom, I had asked her, I said, is it okay if I stay home by myself and be okay? Is it okay with you if I can do that? And so she went ahead and gave me permission. And needless to say, I slept like a baby. I wasn't scared or afraid of anything. And from that point on, I would say that truly that was the beginning of my independence. At 13, I started my job. I remember I was working for the Red Eye, which is a retail store for young girls. And I love making my own money, just simply not having to ask my mom for any kind of, monetary resources. That is maybe the beginning of learning about financial responsibility. I had my first credit card. I was making really good money. I'm literally only going to school up till 12 o'clock and working full time and always being around an older crowd. Yes, I was already going to clubs, kind of sneaking in. So at my age, 16, I'm wearing heels to school. People mistaking me to be one of the teachers coming to teach class, which is crazy. And I have to add that it wasn't easy at some point. I'm the only child. And next thing you know, my mom looks up, and before her eyes, I'm no longer that 10-year-old that asked to stay home by herself. I'm now a teenager, almost ready to leave her house. We did kind of bump heads, a little bit towards me turning 18. I felt like I was grown, and I felt like, how is she going to try to come in and tell me what to do now? I've pretty much raised myself since 10. When I turned 18 and already having my money and cars and paying for clothes and already had a storage full of furniture, I was ready. I was ready for the world. I was ready to go ahead and step out. So I remember being introduced to the real estate business, and I'd never heard of real estate, but after I was told how much money I can make, I'm thinking, oh wow, tell me more about this. How does this work? So I had good people around me to introduce me into the game. And really, to be honest, that was the beginning of the next chapter in my life. That is what started my true independence. At the age of 19, they're actually coming to me and saying, Shelon, have you ever thought about getting into real estate? And I'm thinking to myself, real estate? No. I was already used to making, in my eyes, good money. But anything that had to do with some form of investment or some form of being able to make more money, and as long as it was legal, I was interested. And I remember buying my first piece of property at the age of 19. And shortly thereafter, I remember going ahead and doing a flip investment and making $25,000 fast and immediately, and it was clean and it was legal. Shortly thereafter, I remember being introduced to my mentor, who was about to become my mentor and my partner. And she pushed me. She encouraged me and pushed me to do this full time. And it was the fear that kind of held me back a little bit, but then it took that mentor to help push me and say, you can do this. I remember she had asked me to write a check made payable to myself of how much I thought I would make within a year. So being conservative, I wrote that check for about $100,000. And to me, in my mind, that was a lot of money. And she just said, okay, I want you to put this away and I want you to pull this out when it's time in 12 months. Needless to say, in less than 12 months, through mentorship and encouragement and empowerment, I made actually $500,000 within 6 months. And I will never forget that moment because I was truly scared. I was leaving something that I was used to, which was working full time, not knowing what was gonna come out of this. And I was happy that I did because that changed the rest of my life from that moment on. So here it is at this point in my life. I meet this young man, and he was really different. He was different from the men that I was used to dating in my life. And I just remember his character and his personality stood out a lot to me. And although he was not my type, it was the fact that he made me laugh, because I wasn't used to laughing. And by this time, I was already so used to being responsible and working, and everything was always so serious that here it is, I had a breath of fresh air. And I love the fact that he made me laugh. And so we wind up having our son together and wind up getting married about 2 years after that. And then we came to have another child in our lives, was just my daughter. I am at such a high point in my life. I'm doing really good, making a lot of money in real estate. Decide that I want to open up my own mortgage firm at this point. I got 2 babies. I'm able to take care of my kids, my family, support, have plenty of money in the bank. Oh, have no debt, have cars, home, I have everything that a person would want. I will never forget closing 3 deals and making about $50,000 in just one day. But still at the same time, I enjoyed what I did. So I never really looked at the money first anyway, but it was always such a great reward to know that I did what I enjoyed doing, and I got paid very well for doing it. I recall when I started my business, I just started with a 2-man operation, which was just me and my assistant, and I grew that from a 2-man operation to a 5-office firm. So I actually had a total of 5 offices, from the ground floor all the way up to the high rise to the 15th and 16th floors. I felt like, oh gosh, I could conquer. I can do bigger and better. I can go beyond California. I can be a broker, a licensed broker throughout the entire country, United States of America. I was trying to be that next Countrywide or Lehman Brothers, one of the giants. And I was certainly on my way to accomplishing that. And it wasn't always great. I had challenges with my spouse at the time, being a woman and being the breadwinner of the house, because at that time real estate was just such a successful industry to be in that I was the breadwinner. I was the one that was holding up all the ends. I mean, he was supportive at some point, but then at another point, things kind of started to take a turn, slowly but surely, but it still took a turn of having to face some of the challenges of being a breadwinner of the house, such as, like, oh, well, can I get permission? Sarcasm, or maybe some, manipulative gestures to kind of attack my will or attack my character or judgment or things like that. For a long time, I felt like I needed to try harder. I needed to do better. I needed to satisfy my spouse. I wanted him to be proud of me as well. And, it just got to a point to where it started to take its toll over some years. I mean, it didn't happen all at once, but it didn't feel good. It hurt. It hurt to know that, here it is, I'm working 16 to 18 hours, in the office and coming home and being asked, so what are we having for dinner? I recall around 2005 starting to get prepared for the real estate business to kind of start slowing down, and but no one knew that the real estate industry was about to implode. Let me kind of paint a picture for you. It got to the point to where it was getting hard to keep up with the rent. It was getting hard to keep up with payroll. And then all of my assets and all of my investments were in real estate. That's all I knew. At the same time, in my personal world, my marriage is starting to take a dive also. And I was starting to get really, really scared. It got to the point to where I just couldn't do it. It was either I was going to drown. I mean, if the big giants were falling, I was just a little fish in a pond. So it got to a point in my life where I had to make some decisions. I had to make some choices. They were not going to be the easiest ones, but it was either I chose to walk away or I was going to get swallowed up anyway. All of my worlds around me were falling apart. My marriage, my business, my personal relationships. I didn't have any friends because I was so involved in my own personal life. What was I going to do from here? And I felt lost. I remember being suicidal. I remember thinking to myself, there was nothing else to live for. I was having some very serious health conditions as well. Not knowing if I'm having a heart attack, going back and forth to emergency room and hospitals, being hooked up to the EKG machine, getting checked out, just losing hair, having hives come out all over my body, up to my face, just stress, sick, suicidal, depressed. Oh gosh, you name it. I was all of it. Didn't share that with anyone. I didn't tell anyone the kind of thoughts that were going through my mind. I felt horrible by having other people's livelihoods in my hands, and I was always that fix-it person. I was always that, I'm going to help you get on your feet. I'm that rainmaker. And then here it was, the rain was just pouring down on me. I was no longer a person in that position. And I took that very, very hard. I take it very serious when people come to me and say things of how unhappy they are, or to me, I don't ignore those kind of things, because whenever you have someone that's not happy and they don't really want to talk about it, that's when you should really reach out and help someone. During my most darkest and coldest nights of my life, I was fortunate to have a partner by my side who, oh my gosh, she would listen to me just sit and cry for like 2 hours straight. That's just how miserable I was. She was my guide. She stuck there with me throughout thick and thin. I just appreciated and loved her so much. And she was there who also said, these things did not make you. You made it. These things are what was manifested from what came from within inside of you. So if you did it once before, you can do it again. Stop being a victim and start becoming that victor. And even though I heard that so many times in my ear from her, I still didn't know what that meant. I would tell you, honestly, that would be the beginning of an awakening for me. The beginning, though, because I'm still going through my awakening. By being able to have an angel placed before me, I started realizing how blessed I was to not take in my life. I did have values that were before me. I did have a purpose for being here, and I had a purpose besides what I had always visioned life prior to. My values no longer were the same as they once were. I started realizing the things that truly were valuable to me, and they were more from a spiritual level than from this physical earth plane. I had to start learning how to find out about Shelon and what Shelon was made up of. And I had to stop looking outside of myself, and I had to start looking from within myself. And that's not easy to do, and you certainly can't do it by yourself. But even though that takes divine assistance, the Heavenly Father can still assist you from angels that are around you. And that's what He did for me. He had that angel before me. I'm so grateful to this day because I hit success once again, but it's still not the definition of my success from before. It's a different type of success. And I love it. I love doing what I do. I love being able to help others with their purpose and help them find clarity. So I do tend to help others with whatever's going on with their personal development and helping them to align that to their business development. With the experiences and the heels that I've had to wear through the different chapters of my life, I'm very good at what I do. So now where I stand today, I stand in a place of just so much assurance. My jewels are no longer jewels of this world. My jewels have every bit to deal with spiritual jewels. And I love that. I am just the liberty, the freedom that lives inside of me. I love it. If you're ready, then I'm ready to help you go forward. Because again, life is what you make it. So let's stop with the excuses and let's get started. Success is waiting on you.